In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these pressed flower ornaments using your Glowforge. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Carly and I love Cricut crafts and Glowforge crafts and home DIY crafts. Anything DIY I love. So if you also love DIY, consider subscribing to my channel and turning on those notifications so that you don't miss any new videos. Haven't posted in a few weeks, but typically I post every week. So if you subscribe and turn on those notifications, you'll be notified every single time I post. Today's tutorial is a beginner Glowforge tutorial. So if you have a Glowforge and you've been intimidated to use it, or if you're considering buying a Glowforge, this will be a good project for you to take a look at. To start, we're going to design our file. So I'm using Illustrator, but you can use whatever design program you want. It's actually pretty easy to build an ornament shape. I'll show you how to do it pretty quick. So I'm going to start with the ellipse tool and then clicking anywhere on my canvas here. I'm going to type in my dimensions 3.75. I have it locked, so it will automatically populate the height and then click OK. I'll need another circle that is 0.75 inches tall. That will go at the top here. And then I'm going to adjust these, just eyeball it so that they intersect, and then highlight both and align to the center. If you don't see an align window on your controls, you can come up to the top and choose window and then align, and that will open up. So I'll align those to the center, and you can see it just adjusted a little bit so it's perfectly aligned. And I'm going to use the Pathfinder window to unite those. Again, if you don't see the Pathfinder window, you can use the window tool to find that Pathfinder window and then unite them together. What happens here is you can see that that cut line in between goes away, which is what we want. Now we need one more circle. I'm going to click on the canvas and click 0.25, and that will be the hole for our ribbon. And then we'll stick that right in the middle here. Again, using the align tools just to make sure those are perfectly centered. And I eyeballed the width, but you can measure that out if you want. And then I'm going to highlight both and use the exclude tool, and that will basically subtract the inside of that hole. So if I pull this over to the gray and change my fill, you can see that the hole is missing. I want it to be a stroke, so I don't want to fill because that will tell the Glowforge that I want to cut it. So this is going to be cut out of clear acrylic, 1/8 thick acrylic, and I want to engrave that as well. So I have my font already chosen and typed out. I'm using BFC Pink Mango, Blush Font Co. Pink Mango. You can use whatever font you want. And I'm just going to drag that over to my ornament, resize it however I'd like. And once I'm happy, I'm going to right click and choose Create Outlines. What that does is it takes my font from an editable font and turns it into an image, and that's what I want. Now if I turn this to a stroke, you can see that if I were to leave it just like this, there's overlapping lines, and I don't want that. So again, using the Pathfinder window, I'm going to unite those together and eliminate all of those little cut lines, turn it back to a fill. And the reason I want it turned to a fill is because that will tell my Glowforge that I want to engrave it. So I'm going to center align that so it's nice and centered, make a copy of my ornament so that I have 2 ornament cutouts because I need 2 of them to sandwich together. If we look back at my design here, I have my ornament, and it actually has 2 layers, and then it's taped together using some copper tape. I'll link all of the supplies in the video description, and you'll kind of see them as I go through the video, but they're taped together, so there's actually 2 pieces of acrylic. So I have my 2 ornament shapes, and then the last thing I want to do is mirror my image here. I'm going to click Objects, and then Transform and Reflect. I'm going to vertically reflect it so that it mirrors my image, and that way the engrave is on the inside of my ornament, and I don't feel any roughness because it's in between my 2 pieces of acrylic. I'm going to group my ornament and my Park City together, so I just highlighted both and clicked Command G on my computer. You can also right click to group and ungroup. and align them so they're even. Once you're done designing, we're going to click File and Save As, save to your computer, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm calling it ornament. I want to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to save it as an SVG. These settings are fine. They're just the automatic settings from Illustrator. They work great. Click OK. And now in the Glowforge app, we are going to insert our image and arrange it wherever I want to put it on to my screen. Since I chose to fill my engrave and have just a stroke of my cut, it automatically came in with the correct settings. You'll want to make sure that you choose your material, and I'm using medium acrylic, so I selected that. And then my engrave settings, I want to adjust it to an HD graphic, so that will be the automatic settings here: speed of 300, precision power of 16, and lines per inch 450. So I know that's quite a bit, and that will give you a nice clean engrave. And then the cut settings, I'm just using the proof grade cut. And then I'm going to click the go button. It'll take about 4 minutes to do this cut, so let's get started. Technical difficulties that did not film when I was doing my Glowforge cutting, but here are my cuts, and you'll see here that the acrylic has a masking on it. So this sheet is a clear piece of acrylic, but there is masking on both sides, and that's to prevent any charring on your project. So you can see there's some flashing that happens behind your material, and this masking will prevent that from melting your project. So I do love masked materials. This is a sheet of proof grade acrylic from Glowforge. And then here are my two ornaments, the engraved one and the other side. So let's take those over and assemble them. If you want to paint the inside of your engraving while it's still masked, you can paint this whatever color you want. I think it looks really good with just the engrave. Let's see if we can focus this. It's a little hard to see on camera, but that's just the engrave, no paint or anything like that. So I think it looks good like that, but if you want to paint it, you can do that while it's still masked. Since I'm not going to paint it, I'm going to remove the insides of the letters, just like you were weeding vinyl. So I'm just going to grab the inside of the P, and you can use a weeding tool, you can use tape, you can use a knife. And I'm just going to weed away the insides of the letters. The last few, I placed some microfiber cloth underneath them so that I didn't get so much dust on them. I'm not sure if it helped, but I'll recommend it since they weren't super dusty. But you'll peel away both of the layers. Let's start with the back side. So this will be the front of our ornament, and you can see that the engrave is on this side. So the flowers will go on this side, and then you'll be able to see the engrave through the other side. So peel away this side. I don't think that's going to focus, but here's my front of my ornament, and then I'll just peel away the masking on the other side to make the back side. So again, not focusing, but two pieces that you'll sandwich together once you place the flowers. So I'm going to do my best not to get any dust on the inside. So I'm just being hyper aware of where I place these, where I touch them, trying to avoid touching the surface. My flowers are really fragile, so I'm placing them, I found best to place it on the Park City side and trim them down before I place them. So if they're too long, just trim them down with some scissors so that they fit in your design. Just place them down on to your project. Once you have your flowers in position, you'll place the other side right on top. And now you can flip it over to make sure that you like it. We'll clean off all of our fingerprints at the end. So for the copper tape, you'll start up by the top of the ornament where you're going to place your string or your ribbon, and then you'll work your way around it. And all I do is I squeeze my two layers of acrylic together while working the tape around the edge. So squeeze and line up the copper with both edges of your acrylic and push down, and that will secure the layers of your ornament pretty well. The copper tape is pretty forgiving in the sense that if it's not lined up perfectly, you can peel it back and adjust it. And if you don't like how it looks, if it's bumpy or uneven, I did add 2 layers on my first one because I didn't like how it looked. So I just went around and just doubled up the tape and it looked great. The second one I got a little bit better, so I only had to do 1 piece. But if yours is looking a little bumpy or rough, just go back around and add a second layer of tape. The flowers that I use, the lavender, it is pretty thick. So I do have to pinch a little hard while I'm placing the tape. So there's a little bit of an opening that maybe dust could sneak into where the ribbon hole is, but since we're placing a ribbon, I'm not too concerned about that. But if you wanted to put copper tape in there, you could probably use your tweezers and press it in there. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm just going to grab my ribbon and cut about a foot of ribbon. You can use whatever ribbon you want for your ornament string. You could use twine. And then coming from the front of the ornament, I'm going to use my tweezers and poke my ribbon through. Just poked it through, and then I'm going to pull my tails through that loop and just tighten it up, one tail at a time. And then at the top of my ornament, I'm going to make a little knot and just push that knot up to the top. So here's that final ornament. This is a really good beginner Glowforge project because I feel like working with clear acrylic and engraving and cutting gives you a good basic skill set right off the bat. So if you're new to Glowforge, don't let this intimidate you. And I think this is a great way to display pressed flowers. So if you have a flower collection or you want to press flowers but you don't know what to do with them, you could even cut rectangles and make these into frames so that you could display them all year round. It's like a floating frame with just a copper detailing and display it on an easel or something like that. So I'll link the supplies that you need for this project. I think it turned out really cute, even if it's super hard to see on camera. Hopefully it reads and you can see that it is cute because I do like it a lot. So here are the 3 that I've made this morning. I've been working on these. Let's see, what time is it? I've made all 3 of these in an hour, so not bad. I think they'll make really great gifts for my family since we all love going to Park City and these flowers came from the family cabin. So anyway, if you have any questions, make sure to leave those in the comments. I'm happy to help, and you'll have to let me know if you try out this project. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.